What's up, everybody? Ben Reza here for Stokastic. Yes, the golf season continues week after week. It's not a major. We'll recap. We'll talk about the PGA, I guess, if we have to. Then we're going to set our sights on the Charles Schwab Challenge. It's not the best field in the world, but from a game theory standpoint, I'm actually pretty excited to talk about this. We're going to dive into the course. We're going to dive into the players. We'll talk about what's going on here because we're going to be celebrating. I'll get right to it. We had a Millie winner in the Stokastic community last week. We're going to get to all that. Obviously, we're going to celebrate with some cool deals. You guys know all of that, but welcome to the channel. Maybe you're just stumbling here for the first time. If you like to play DFS, if you like to get information, we hope you make it your home for all things DFS right here. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. All right, Charles Schwab Challenge. So it's been a million names, but it's the same tournament as always. It's the Colonial. Colonial has been on the schedule for eons. We know what we need here. It's not a long course. It's far from it. There's only a couple par fives. Irons, you're going to club down off the tee. Don't think it's a real torture chamber. Now, the wind, that's a variable, and we'll talk to that. It's very early on a Wednesday, so that can and will change. You can talk about tee time stacks, skill set stacks, things like that. But Colonial's Colonial. We've seen it for a very long time. You got to kind of roll it, particularly on these green complexes, which aren't, in my opinion, anything too crazy. It's just kind of what it is. I think it's a fair test. I don't know really how else to summarize it. It's not gimmicky. It's not going to overpower short hitters by any stretch. You can get there in a lot of different ways. You don't need a lot of long irons either, because even if you are clubbing down off the tee, it's just not that long of a course, but it can be tricky. I don't want to make like this is a birdie fest. This is not Craig Ranch or whatever the hell we've been talking about at all. It is a fair test of golf, and it's one you got to bring your A game, because if you don't, you're going to be in some trouble. But enough about that. I think you guys have a good breakdown of the course, and for me, skill sets, it's always the same. It's just degrees of it. Ball striking. Irons, I'll probably shift the ranges if you want to get granular to a little shorter, like 200-yard plus. Not in the bag for me this week as much as it would be maybe on a longer course, on a Quail Hollow or something like that. Scrambling, sure. Got to be able to roll it, sure. Off the tee, I prefer my guys gain. Doesn't need to be through distance, but it's a ball striking course. It's a second shot course, in my opinion. That is how I will approach it this week, and how I've approached it for a long time at this tournament. I mean, we've seen year over year, those type of players win. Obviously, if you know me, this is a tournament near and dear to my heart, because Griot won a couple of years ago, and he also hit it in the water, and it was in a straight viaduct. I'm not even going to get into that story. Look it up if you want to see things you didn't know were possible on a golf course. But yeah, Griot's won here. I actually think he's a pretty good model for what you want. He can't putt at all. He got hot with the putter. He's a ball striking wizard, and he took it down. Let's get to it. Let's get to this field. I'm just going to bring up DraftKings. Simple as that. We're going to go through with our data, by the way. It'll be up on Wednesday as we get all the information, the tee times and all of that stuff. You're going to want to check that out. Single lineup simulator, all that. Run the sims, of course, and see what we're about. But I'll talk about that later. Scheffler's $13,700. That's a lot of potatoes, but can we really push back and say that it's not warranted? I mean, the guy he's Scheffler. I mean, he's the best player in the world, and the rest of the world doesn't seem to be here for the most part. You look at him, he's ripping off wins now. He was always a walking top 10, even when he was in his slump. And he does everything better than everybody else. You know, if you're looking at ball striking numbers, his are comically ahead of the rest of this field. He gains everywhere, and when he putts, he's almost unstoppable. The last time he wasn't inside the top 10 was at the Players. The last time he wasn't inside the top 20 was Waste Management. The last time he wasn't in the top 30 was in August of 2024. So you're going to get a quality showing from him. That's just what you get. If he wins, you obviously are going to need him. If he doesn't, if it's a random winner, his fourth or eighth or ninth or third or whatever could still be very viable. So he's going to be extremely popular. We'll see when ownership comes out here at Stokastic, but seem pretty safe doing that. Let's see what happens, though. So one player drops this significantly. I mean, he's eating up the equivalent of like 2 golfers at this point. It can be done, but you're going to have to sacrifice somewhere else. And even though it's not to the firepower of Scheffler, I acknowledge that Tommy Fleetwood and Daniel Berger are good players, and they've been playing good golf, particularly Berger, who I like this week. I actually bet him at 22. He's got to roll it a little better, no doubt, but his ball striking is in the ballpark of Scheffler's. It's not to that level because no one really is, but he's gained 4 more strokes on the approach in 3 straight. It's been great off the tee. He's lost strokes putting in 3 straight events, but he was 3rd at Heritage, made the cut at the PGA. I like Daniel Berger. So let's see 2 things. One, obviously you could start with him. If you don't play Scheffler, you're going balanced by definition. If you play Scheffler plus an upper 9, you're already in the mid-6s. You're looking at least 3 and maybe 4 straight punts. So what a fascinating build there. It's the same story for Fleetwood. He never wins. I still believe eventually he's going to win, but that's kind of irrelevant. He gives you quality results. It's just more about the opportunity cost of playing him over Scheffler. And if you play them together, you're severely strained financially. You've got Spieth, who was not good at Quail Hollow, but that was I thought, a pretty bad course for him. So I'm not shocked to see a struggle there. Not going to hold that against him. I will hold it against Decky. I don't know what that was. I thought Decky had a chance to win last week. Miscut at the PGA, and it was just bad everything. He lost off the tee. He lost with the approach. He lost around the green. Not severely, but these are spots Decky hadn't lost around the green in 2025. So just you hope a one-off, but a disappointing week nonetheless for him. And then immediately we start to see that the depth of this field is not there. These are fine players, but these are guys that were last week punts. Maverick, JT Poston was a useful salary saver last week. Bobby Mack, Harris English, super valuable last week. But you're talking thousands of dollars cheaper. And I understand that was a major. But, man, to see these guys in the 9s, this is going to be a very, very interesting build if you don't play Scheffler. You can triple up here. You can go Decky, English, Rye, and you're 73.66. 72, you're in the same ballpark as what Scheffler does with 1. So it's kind of the same mentality. You obviously only have to fill 3 spots with that. If you go balance, whereas Scheffler, we're filling 5 golfers to that range. But those are kind of the little decisions that you have to make. For me, I do like the top of the range more. Fleetwood and Berger, I'm very comfortable with. Of the next batch, Harris English, who I did get to last week, that was one of the bright spots. I just love the way that he's playing. And I know that there's a price hike. There's no doubt about that. It's certainly warranted. I'm just going to kind of continue to buy on Harris English, though. When you gain 8 strokes on the approach and you gain in all 4 categories, it's hard to ignore. And I'm not going to jump off just because he had a solid showing. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I am more than content with Harris English this week. You've got Rye. I'm fine with Keith Mitchell. So Keith Mitchell is a walking first-round leader. Keith Mitchell was insanely popular last week because of his price point, which was super low, and he missed the cut. He didn't play particularly bad. He just didn't really do anything. Around the green kind of ate him up. He gained strokes putting. He gained strokes off the tee and with the approach. So I kind of am indifferent to him in this spot. I prefer the guys right above him, and I think I prefer some of these in the mid-8s to him. But keep in mind, Keith Mitchell has shown the ability to score and score often. I think it's less important here, though. You're not going to see as many, crazy streaks. You'll see streaks. You'll see some bonuses. Siwoo made a hole-in-one, I believe, last week. Good for him. Ben Griffin. But, well, Davis Riley. Obviously, he's got the course history. Let's dig into Davis Riley a little bit. I don't want to gloss over him because another one, the PGA, out of nowhere, I guess you could say, he had been making cuts, but not to that level. He just comes in second. He was 21st at the Masters, so I have to give him credit there. He gained 5 strokes putting, but the game looked really good. It really did. He gained across the board. And again, credit where it's hard to really push back. And this is someone that, again, he won last year here. He outdueled Scheffler, if you want to say that Scheffler was runner-up. But so you've got Davis Riley there. I think he does have the dreaded recent form boost and course history boost and 86. We'll have to see what ownership plays out again. I'm doing this with the mindset of I'm going to get my plays that I'm interested in. I will certainly apply our data and our ownership, and then I will start to formulate percentages. Do I need to play 30% of a guy? Do I need to play 10% of the guy to get leverage? Do I want to short him? Things like that. And that's kind of just how we'll do it. I'll throw it into the sim tools and hopefully win myself. There are no millies, but a lot of money. Let's just leave it at that. JJ Spawn, Andrew Novak, the glove, back from the dead. This guy has been killing me, not to complain. But man, I'm going to complain. I loved Lucas Glover at the Masters, and he was terrible. Then I held on, and I tried to play him at the Truist. He was terrible. Then he made the cut. He comes in 37th last week. He kind of regressed, and he still can't putt, but I cannot get him right. Tepid interest here, not my favorite play, but at the same time, I think he's fine in this mid-8s, low-8s range. Again, this stuff drops very quickly. We're not going to be able to feel super comfortable with anything. You see Bhatia there, and I love the name. I love the talent. The form has been bad, though. 2 missed cuts and 5 straight outside the top 40. He's got to improve. Stats are a little all over the place right now, and I am a little concerned with Bhatia. So another guy that he might be in the pool, but I have Glover ahead of him, and I think that I'm going to take a shot with Mackenzie Hughes, who was really, really bad last week. But when you have a major, I'm more willing to forgive that. He's still a short game wizard. He lost 6.5 strokes putting. If Mackenzie Hughes loses 6.5 strokes putting, that's it. Not going to end well. I'm going to bank that he can flip that. And he had a nice run, 36th at Valsport, 10th at Houston, 3rd at Heritage. I believe Mackenzie Hughes is in play this week, and I'm interested to see his ownership coming off an objectively horrible week. So I know I alluded to a couple of things already, but honestly, I want to just like get right to them. The ownership and all of that. If you have not used our tools, honestly, come and give it a shot. These things make the difference. The ability to put out lineups that are tested, not just with the projections, but with the ownership, with the leverage, all different types. It doesn't mean you have to make 150. I don't make 150. I use our single lineup sim a lot of times for things like that. We have so many different packages here, from if you're more of a casual, you want to try it out, to the basic, to the core, to the max if you're a really serious player, you want all that. Or maybe you just want the optimizers. Maybe you just want the projections and the ownership. Prices are here. Options are here, monthly and weekly. But I already said, we had a milli winner. A straight, I'm bringing it up right here. Look up, boom, $1 million. Obviously, that doesn't happen too often, so we got to celebrate it when it does. The other thing that was really cool about this wasn't a 150 max. There's 6 entries into that tournament for Dr. Rex. Obviously, a life-changing moment for him, and he's rocking the avatar. Doesn't get cooler than that. Just awesome. And when that happens, we celebrate. And so we're running back. We did this last week, and it was a 1-week deal. But again, if people are winning millies, we're making codes. 75% off any PGA DFS package. So if you want to try out the casual for a week, go ahead. If you want to save a bunch of money on like the Sims and go for the max plan, fire away. Use the code Millie at checkout. The link is in the description. Click that link, see the packages, weigh the options, and if you want to give one a shot, lock in a really, really cool price tag. Simple as that. But come on, how often do we get to celebrate Millie winners? We had some during football. It's just awesome. I mean, that's serious business. So let's keep that rolling. Hopefully we see some of those avatars right at the top again this week. Mr. Gerard, not Samuel Gerard from The Fugitive, but Ryan Gerard here. This guy's also playing really good golf. He was 8th last week, and he did it with ridiculous. He gained 10 strokes tee to green. That's very atypical. I don't know what to make of it. Kind of feels like honestly an outlier, because he has not shown that type of abilities off the tee or really with the irons recently. But he has shown that he can kind of get it done anyway. And I don't look at this too often, but I do find this interesting. This is a guy that since mid-March, he has gained 4 strokes or more in each of the categories in different weeks. Not all together, but it just shows that he can kind of pop with anything. He gained 4 strokes off the tee last week. He gained 7.5 strokes in Houston with his irons. He gained 6 strokes around the green at Valero, and he gained 8 strokes putting at Valero as well. 4.5 strokes putting at the Players. So it is a lot of different ways that this Gerard character can get it done. And if you go very balanced, you're talking like a couple here, maybe 1-9, and then a punt. That's kind of a weird build. If you don't go to Scheffler, you can get a pretty decent bang for your buck. Even going up to like Berger, this is more than manageable. I will have lineups that are like this: 1-9, 2 8s, 2 7s, and 1 6. I'm fine with that type of build. I think that's more than reasonable this week, given the field and given the structure of this event. Olesen, another guy that played well last week. He can score. I always like to kind of target him. It's hard to nail down what I think his price should be. It's also hard to nail down blindly what his ownership will be. Obviously, I'll be relying on what we have, but I don't think he's going to be crazy popular. He was great last week, though. He just couldn't putt, and he regressed to 33rd, but he gained 5 strokes on the approach. I like Olesen. I'm going to hang on there. I played him last week. I'm going to play him this week. Bez, maybe? I mean, Bez showed me. I said that he was in the unplayable category, and he came in 50th, and he gained – he makes no sense. He finally gained with the irons, and then he lost strokes putting, which has only happened or around the green and putting, I should say, which has only happened once in 2025 combined. It's just he's all over the place. I don't know what to make of him. I don't think you need to go crazy. He's not going to be popular. Let's talk about Tom Kim. Tom Kim is a talented player. Form is not there, though, and I think I have to keep it that way. I'd love to try to buy low, but miscut 52nd, miscut 71st. I don't see it, to be completely honest. So this range is pretty thin for me. I think Greiserman is very solid. I have no problem with that. Let's check out what Griot's doing. My guy, former champion. Put some respect on his name. He had made 4 to 5, missed the cut at the CJ Cup, couldn't putt. Ball striking is still there. His around the green is as bad as it used to be, maybe even worse. In the pool, don't love it. Weak range, though. This is a weak range. And as we get lower and lower, we're going to be saying that a lot. Tom Hoagie's a good player, hasn't been playing good in recent weeks. He had a great run from the Players to the Masters and Heritage. They 63rd at Truist, and he missed the cut last week. So you could bet on name recognition there. You've got Woodland. You've got Ricky, who was predictably showed some life before the PGA and then just didn't have it at all. His short game was straight bad. Eric Cole, rounded back in. He's not starting. He's been making cuts. 7 straight made cuts, 7 straight with the irons positive. You can work with that. Eric Cole in the pool. Priorities for the 7K range. It's not a range that I like. So it would be Olesen, Gerard, Greiserman. We haven't got to these guys yet, so let's talk about them. I think Eric Cole is fine. You have some interesting guys here. Cam Davis, Johnny Vegas, those guys certainly utilized some of their abilities off the tee last week. I don't think that's going to translate nearly as well in this iteration and at Colonial, where the skill set is significantly different. I'd rather use Chris Kirk and hope that the putter can flip. The guy's gained strokes on the approach in 7 of 8. He's lost strokes putting in basically every event this year outside the Players and the Masters. That's it. Everything else has been rough for Chris Kirk. And so he's got to flip that. But if he does, good things are going to happen. And I'm fine with it in a range that's devoid of ownership and core plays for me. You're going to see a lot of that. I don't think I'm going to be unique in this. With Scheffler in this field, there's going to be an element of you play Scheffler and then you basically spray in this type of range with 2, 3, 4 names. And then you have what's ever left. I don't think that's unreasonable. And there are plenty of names. Theo Bornson has just continued to show that he certainly belongs and he's got the talent to make an impact right now. I want to look at Ekra a little closer. He's a name I have on the list. The form has not been there, but it has been absolutely dreadful around the green and putting. Dreadful. His tee to green game is fine. He cannot shake it. He has lost around the green and putting, and in 4 straight events. That's just brutal. Maybe a more reasonable field here. If he's sub 5%, and I expect that he will be, I may take some flyers on Austin Eckroat this week. I don't hate the spot, and I think he's playing slightly better than I don't want to say the results indicate, because he's probably got what he deserved with the short game, but he's certainly striking it better than that. We're scrolling down into the cheapies. And again, if you have any questions on any of this, when you use that code, by the way, 75% off any package, Millie, that is the code. The link is there. Come and join us. Again, use the tools to power your lineups, to get the information you need to hopefully have some real sweats in this tournament and tournaments going forward. If you have any questions for me, at JazzRazBets, I'm in our Discord, of course, and you're certainly welcome in there. All the PGA players that use our stuff are in there. We're talking through things. Happy to answer anything. So just let me know, and you can always tweet me if you have a question about anything on the show or a player I glossed over. Try to get to everyone, but there's a lot of names, and I like to keep this for people. You know, people got busy lives. They don't need a 2-hour show from me. Well, Seamus, I thought he could have been a mega mind genius play last week. He wasn't. It's just not there. 4 straight missed cuts. I want to keep buying, but it's hard to. When you're playing large field tournaments, you can justify a lot of players, but it's hard to go beyond that with a guy like that. Ricky Castillo, 5th at the CJ Cup, good ball striking, some missed cuts peppered in there, but you're going to get that in ranges of this caliber. You're going to get that in tournaments of this caliber. You're going to have a lot of guys that don't have consistent form. We just have to live with that. There's nothing else that we can really do. And these are 6K players, last man in, pairing with Scheffler, last man in balanced builds when you only need one. There are names, though. If you want kind of like a dark horse player for me this week, Joseph Bramlett would be that guy. He hasn't been doing anything crazy, but I actually think that he's in a decent spot here. He hasn't played a ton of golf, which you can look at it a couple different ways, but when he has played, he's been fine. He was 3rd at Puerto Rico. That was several months ago. I want to be clear. But Bramlett, 6,800, not going to be popular, not on many people's minds. Fine with it. I looked at Bo Hostler because I was like, man, he played pretty well last week. It was all short game. That kind of freaks me out. Dahman, he's the opposite of that. It's all ball striking. He can't putt. He's kind of struggled after he should have won a couple weeks ago, and he melted in the alt event. I root for him. I like him as a player. I like him as a person. He seems like a cool dude. It's just tough to know where he's at. Chan Kim, this is a guy that's in the pool for me, 6,600. I looked at him pretty closely last night when I was putting out my tweet on some of these under-the-radar players. He was 5th at Valero. He gained 4 strokes on the ball striking, 39th in Houston, also really good on the irons. Around the green's not a problem. Off the tee is. He's been really bad off the tee. I'm hoping he can alleviate some of that here at Colonial, where he can maybe club down, take some of that pressure off, because he's got to survive off the tee. You need to be able to lean on these short irons. If he does that, it becomes a wedge fest. I trust Chan Kim to make this cut. And if he makes this cut at 66, we're going to be in business. That is more than we need for that. I don't have much more for you, friends. I don't think I'm going to go too much lower because I don't need to. There's some names. You've Silverman, Mullinex, Wildman, Mr. Walker, Hayden Springer's down here. Webb, okay. But unless you're really aggressive up top, I don't think you need to do this. And we can build one on the way out, have some fun. And again, when the single lineup simulator, once our projections are uploaded this week, go and play around with that. So much fun. Gives you an ROI readout of your lineup. But for me, we'll build one Scheffler and one non-Scheffler. So my Scheffler lineups will probably look like, again, they're gonna differ. This is not gospel, but it'll probably be, God, it's so crazy that you have a $5,600 dead zone. But honestly, that's just kind of how it's going to have to work this week. Yeah, Chan Kim, we're going to need you, and we're going to need you now. Go Bramlett. Yeah, it is tough. I'm not going to lie. And like Castillo, something like that. Again, it goes back to what I was alluding to earlier. Scheffler and 5 kind of random players. If you don't go Scheffler, obviously it's going to be more pulled to the 9Ks. I like Berger this week. Harris English, Siwoo. And then we can still attack these ranges, but we don't have to dig that low, and we could land something like that. It looks so much better, but you don't have Scheffler. Plus 230 to win the entire event. That is the trade-off this week. Do you want Scheffler and an extremely bad end of your lineups? Do you want balanced and extremely limited win equity relative to if you have Scheffler? I think that's the balance that we need to look at. Tee time stacks, if it's windy, I always advocate for that. Skill set stacks. I don't think every lineup needs to be like that. It certainly shouldn't. But if you want to group some guys in correlated stacks, I always have been an advocate of that. And I will definitely try to do that this week. Once again, it's going to be a fun one. I know it's not a major. I know it's not multiple millies up for grabs. There's hundreds of thousands of dollars up for grabs at the top of these tournaments. And that means that this is a good opportunity for us, hopefully, to get a sweat. I don't get to say this often, so I want to just, one more time, celebrate $1 million winner last week. I wish it was me, but if it's not me, I want someone in the Stokastic family. It's so cool to see it. Just congratulations. And again, to celebrate, 75% off. Code Millie. You guys know the details. And if you have any questions, you get in touch with us here at Stokastic, and we will take care of you. But on that note, friends, thanks for hanging out for hopefully an informative half hour of Charles Schwab Challenge DFS picks and strategy. Let's see what we can do this week. I'm excited to kind of tweak what we did here and refine it into some real lineups, put them in, hopefully no withdrawals, and give it a whirl. So for me, everyone at Stokastic, and for this field, thanks again for tuning in, everybody. I appreciate you guys. If you can, hit the like button on the way out. Helps me a ton. And good luck this week. If you hit something, tweet me so we can celebrate together. And on that note, talk to you guys soon.